Yeah. So thanks, Chairperson, and the organizers for opportunity to speak on a topic which is not an area of my active investigation or research work of my group, but anyway, it's an opportunity to speak on some topic where topic is theoretical, more of basic science, but I would like to make it more a clinical or clinically oriented. So I'm going to speak about the role of brain in pathogenesis of diabetes, and brain is the target for management. Historical perspective, the golden era of physiology, that was in 19th century, the era of the Claude Bernard. The role of brain in glucose homeostasis dates to mid 19th century and kid islet cell. We look into the history of any subject, there's something interesting. It was a Claude Bernard in his animal experimentation on the basis of observation in 1854 that diabetes could be induced in rabbit by puncturing the floor of the fourth cerebral ventricle. And renowned physiologist Claude Bernard proposed a role of brain in both glucose homeostasis and diabetes pathogenesis. So at that time, no story of islet cell or the Langerhans cells and other things. But after discovery of insulin in 1921, the concept of brain as a regulator of your glucose homeostasis was forgotten. It was not actually, it existed, this concept, but was not looked upon by researchers or clinicians at all, and everybody focused on insulin. Let me tell you one thing, very advanced. In my present, this will become very important. The glucose-centric theory of everything needs to have a relook. And the origin of this theory is from your discovery of insulin, Nobel Prize winning discovery. And pancreas, and we know today with the molecular work, physiologic work, this new drug discovery, molecular pharmacology, several organ tissues are involved in glucose homeostasis. Pancreas plays the most important. This is the rule for today. And therapies are based on this. So we all believe it. It could be true. But the role of brain has revisited. The recent scientific insights points toward role of nervous system brain in pancreatic regulation of glucose homeostasis. Problem is, we know glucose is regulated by pancreas, and pancreas is regulated by the glucose. They regulate each other. Tight regulation is there, no question about it. But who regulate these two? Brain is above them, or brain is part of a overall complex physiological mechanism. Role of brain in prevention of hypoglycemia is undisputed. Neuroglycopenia, autonomic nervous system activation sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic inhibition. Your stress response in terms of your cortisol secretion, that take care of glucose metabolism. So glucose regulation by your nervous system is well known, well established, undisputed in your emergency situation when sugar goes beyond your threshold level. But does brain has any physiologic role in glucose metabolism? Yes. There are some findings from the glucose from the scientific domain, not from clinical domain. And these are, for example, activation of parasympathetic nervous system is necessary for normal meal-induced insulin secretion in rhesus monkey, because we can't do this type of experiment in human beings. And parasympathetic nervous system is known to mediate, pre-absorptive or cephalic phase of insulin secretion. They're very important. Despite evidence, PNS remains active during absorption phase of the meal. This study finds that these results indicate that activation of PNS during the absorption phase of meals contributes significantly to the postprandial insulin secretion. Though it is regulated by glucose, but glucose also acts through your PNS also, your nervous system also. This was the finding of this study. Another very important piece of information was from the actually mouse model, that central potassium ATPase channel modulates glucose effectiveness in humans and rodents. Very important this part, because everything is glucose insulin centric. But your glucose can be taken up by the tissue even without your insulin. Glucose independent mechanism of glucose metabolism or glucose dynamics, we call it glucose effectiveness. And this glucose effectiveness is controlled by your brain through an unknown mechanism. It is not a neurological mechanism, but it is controlled by the brain. And it is potassium ATPase channel, opening a new era of therapeutics, of diagnostic system, which is beyond your story of the insulin. So Very interesting piece of information. And these findings indicate that half of the suppression of glucose production by hyperglycemia is mediated by central potassium ATPase channel. You know, potassium ATPase channel in brain, you regulates 50% of your actually glucose disposal in your hyperglycemia postprandial state, and it is regulated by a potassium ATPase channel. How it does it, we don't know, and that is a good target for future drug discovery. Similarly, your pancreas has evolved, evolution. We look into the pancreas biology, beta cell, glucose sensing, insulin secretion, glucagon, all this story. We look into the evolution in the Drosophila, that there are neurons which at one end causes insulin secretion and same time suppresses glucagon secretion, equivalent secretion. Because glucagon and insulin not there in Drosophila, but equivalent hormones are regulated by a brain neurons. So this say that there is an evolution of some of the neuroendocrine tumors come from pancreas, from them insulin secretion and all these cells. So actually, neuroendocrine system part of your islet cells and neuroendocrine system, and evolutionally in evolution they originated from your brain. So brain is basically pancreatic sensing and secretion of insulin, glucagon is part of a brain extension in evolution, which is lying down in the pancreas. Now therefore, the role of brain in glucose homeostasis possibly physiological. We have a homeostasis system. When we treat our patient, we forget homeostasis. When patient comes to us, we see sugar report and start treating. But this is homeostasis in terms of thermoregulation, response to cold, response to heat. Body maintains its own weight, very intricate, complicated issue of body homeostasis and glucose maintenance, because for energy we need glucose to maintain. So glucose homeostasis, your thermo homeostasis, as well as your body weight homeostasis, obese state, they are actually interconnected phenomena. And if we look into this point, keep this point in background, we can have a look at the patient pathophysiology in a new horizon. Now coming point, can brain sense glucose? Because we know the mechanism of glucose insulin secretion of pancreas is sensing of the glucose by our pancreatic beta cells. Same way, can the brain sense? Yes. This work is done mainly in the animal models, and some new functional neuroimaging in your functional MRI and PET scan, that there are certain brain areas which can sense glucose level and metabolic parameters in the blood, circulation blood. Glucose transport, important transporter of the your glucose in the beta cell where it senses. Same is true for your brain also. Similarly, hypothalamus arcade glucokinase regulate insulin secretion and glucose homeostasis. So once your glucose molecule in the brain or neuron goes inside the cell, glucose transporter, and it is metabolized by their glucokinase, and this is an important mechanism of brain sensing of the glucose level. And in fact, glucokinase is a critical regulator of ventrolateral hypothalamic neuronal glucose sensing. So now question is, glucose is sensed by your brain. How it control it? How control your metabolism? How control glucose homeostasis? A very, 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 very complicated and still unexplored area, still unexplored largely. But there are possibly two main mechanisms. One is your autonomic nervous system. Second is your hormonal systems. So most important is autonomic nervous system, your cholinergic neurons and non-cholinergic neurons, as well as your adrenergic neuron, non-adrenergic neuron. So 4 types of links are there. One is some neuron goes from your pancreas, from vagus nerve to your brain, and some of the autonomic nervous system control your pancreatic functions. So CNS coded glucose regulation. It is an overview picture because still lot of things are unexplored. Only animal experiment data, animal experimentation, cell line, or your neuroimaging data is there. Still knowledge is incomplete, but there are basically 3 main streams through which brain control your glucose or homeostasis in metabolic homeostasis in general. One is your sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system causes adipocyte lipolysis, muscle glucose uptake in the basal condition, inhibit insulin-induced glucose uptake and glucose production. Sympathetic nervous system, this is the action sympathetic nervous system. On the other hand, parasympathetic nervous system has a favorable effect. The third mechanism by hormone, that is your cortisol, catecholamines, they all influence your adversely affect your glucose metabolism. So this is the mechanism through which brain control your glucose and in fact fatty acid metabolism. Now there is a model of disease. Brain senses glucose directly and through indirectly mechanism also. And once you sense it, there are 2 types of mechanism. One is nerve through nervous system and hormones, that is your actually autonomic nervous system, cortisol hormone. But there are mechanisms which are independent of these two systems, because glucose effectiveness, insulin independent glucose disposal, is something which is controlled by the brain through an unexplored or unknown mechanism. That is an area which can change the future scenario of glucose or diabetes management. Now question is, what happens in diabetes mellitus? Blood glucose sensing is in diabetes, it is altered. Yes. Down regulation of blood brain barrier glucose transport in the experimental diabetes. In animal it was found. Yes, diabetes glucose transportation is poor. The down regulation of glucose brain glucose transport in hyperglycemic non-obese mouse also. That means hyperglycemia still inhibits the transport of the glucose into the brain. And in fact, decline in glucokinase activity in arcuate nucleus in streptozotocin induced diabetic rate. That pancreatic beta cells are damaged. Even then, there is a glucokinase activity in your brain neuron in mouse model is decreased. So there is some connection which we don't know, but glucose sensing is definitely inhibited. Now human evidences, because we can't take human brain biopsy. I take adipose tissue biopsy, muscle biopsy, a lot of work is done. Here we can't do anything. We can't take brain biopsy, but brain imaging, there is a blunted rise in blood glucose level during hyperglycemia in adult with obesity and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Compared to lean participant, brain glucose increments were lower in participant with obesity and T2DM, and changes in brain glucose correlate inversely with plasma free fatty acid during hyperglycemia. You know, I think it looks like free fatty is the major player in this glucose insensitivity in the brain. Similarly, standardized uptake on PET scan was also reduced in hyperglycemic conditions, and brain SUV was related significantly inversely with glycemia. As glycemia goes up, brain uptake of the glucose goes down. Now, similarly, in one cohort, diabetes mellitus was associated with brain atrophy and hypometabolism. So hyperglycemia is associated with hypometabolism glucose, poor sensing, and poor autonomic neuron function responses to control glucose. But what I am pointing out here, fatty acid is probably the major player. We need to identify, because Indian problem is fatty acid, lean thin phenotype, lean obese diabetic. This lean diabetic, basically it is a fatty acid problem, and fatty acid probably a player which is unexplored. Now question, brain mechanism type 2 diabetes mellitus. This is again an area where there is not much of knowledge. It looks like there is a poor sensing. This poor sensing is possibly reversible, and this is reversible because it is related to free fatty acidemia, hyperglycemia itself, like it happens in your, glucolipotoxicity in your pancreatic beta cells. Same time insensitivity happens because of hyperglycemia and high fatty acidemia, and they altered autonomic functions as well as your cortisol levels, and they play a role in your diabetes mellitus, because brain sense a high glucose level as normal because it is not able to sense. Once it sense a normal high glucose value as normal, or it sense it as a low glucose value, it gets alarm reaction as when in neuroglycopenia, and that activates autonomic nervous system adversely by sympathetic activity, decrease parasympathetic activity, as well as cortisol secretion. So abnormal sensing lead to false impression of hypoglycemia in the brain, and alarm reaction take place that causes your hyperglycemia in diabetes. And there are a couple of studies in literature which have found that many psychiatric disorders which are stress related, they are brain diseases, they are associated with abnormal autonomic function test. On the other hand, your several metabolic disorders are associated with abnormal autonomic and cortisol function. So this vicious cycle is going on. Similarly, many metabolites also affect brain metabolism. So there is again a intricate network of relationship, and false feeling of hypoglycemia by brain during hyperglycemia lead to alarm reaction and hyperglycemia. This is how the mechanism goes on diabetes pathogenesis. Now coming to the brain as target for the management. You know, all anti-obesity drugs, like your liraglutide, even liraglutide acts on the GLP receptor there in the brain. Your naltrexone, your semaglutide, your topiramate, they all act the brain neurons. I will not go into detail of this. Leptin reverses insulin resistance and hepatic stress in a patient with severe lipodystrophy. You know, leptin is a therapeutic molecule which is used for lipodystrophy syndrome. And chronic leptin treatment improves insulin-stimulated hepatic and peripheral glucose metabolism in severely insulin-resistant lipodystrophy patient. This improvement in insulin action was associated with remarkable reduction in hepatic and muscle triglyceride content. These data suggest that leptin may represent an important new therapy to reverse severe hepatic and muscle insulin resistance and associated hepatic status in patients with lipodystrophy. So leptin is an important molecule. Very important part, leptin activate novel CNS mechanism for insulin independent normalization severe diabetic hyperglycemia. Very important. You know, leptin when in animal model injected into the brain, it normalizes hyperglycemia without affecting your insulin secretion. A very important piece of information. In fact, this is a therapy which is acting and controlling or increasing glucose disposal without any involvement of insulin or autonomic nervous system. So there is an obscure system which control glucose effectiveness or glucose disposal without insulin, and that can be regulated at the brain level with your leptin. Second is oxytocin. You know, we know oxytocin in gynae because they give for uterine contraction. But oxytocin has been shown to induce feeding restriction and body weight lowering through action on the brain regulatory regions, in particular in hypothalamus. Studies from pharmacologic intervention and genetic manipulation demonstrated oxytocin can play a significant role in affecting glucose metabolism as well as insulin secretion and lipolysis, many of these functions being regulated both centrally and peripherally. So oxytocin actually causes metabolic improvement, reduces weight, decreases appetite, and metabolic parameters are improved, glucose is improved. And in fact, in a randomized pilot clinical trial, intranasal oxytocin administered over an 8 weeks period led to effective reduction of obesity related pre-diabetic changes in patient. Oxytocin and two analogs, including these two names, worked in mice in reverse insulin resistance and glucose intolerance prior to reduction in obesity. So oxytocin is emerging a new molecule which acts on the central nervous system and improves your metabolic parameter, particularly related to obesity and insulin resistance. Similarly, bromocriptine, old drug, new formulation, and new indication. You know, in the brain, dopaminergic receptors play a very important role in your food intake and appetite and satiety. And dopaminergic receptors are downregulated in obese individuals in their actually MSN and NAC area of the hypothalamus. And this leads to obesity as well as dysregulated appetite and physical inactivity. So these dopamine receptors are activated by bromocriptine because bromocriptine dopamine receptor D2 receptor agonist. In fact, your circadian rhythm abnormality and decreased dopaminergic activity in the hypothalamus is associated with increased sympathetic nervous system activity, hepatic glucose production, lipolysis, fatty acidemia, and lipogenesis. And all these processes are reversible with your bromocriptine. And remember, this bromocriptine preparation is different. This is quick release preparation, and dosage is 0.8 to 4.6 milligram doses, and this is increased by a quarter and this weekly increments. And this dose is much lower than the dose which we give in prolactinoma or Parkinsonism. And there are certain landmark clinical trials, and it was found that phase 3 trial is reduced HbA1c by as much as 0.6 to 0.9%. So bromocriptine can be used in your patient. Now question is, anybody can ask me this question, what type of patient? Yes, you have to identify the patient who have abnormal circadian rhythms, poor sleep cycles, and they have more of a satiety problem, diet problem. I think they manifest like that, and they can be the good candidate. Anyway, it is a speculation. So this is a centrally acting drug, bromocriptine. And important part is that the action of bromocriptine relatively sustained, as well as it reduces cardiovascular risk. You know, we talk of SGLT2 inhibitor so much, but we never talk of bromocriptine as a drug which is very effective in reducing your cardiovascular risk in diabetic patients. Similarly, gastric bypass surgery also associated with increased neuronal blood flow and neuronal functions. So it is also improving brain glucose sensing. GDF15 tells the brain to lose weight. You know, this is an important molecule. It's a biomarker of adipose tissue. We are looking for it in our adipose tissue research biology, but this has emerged as a novel target for your new drug discovery for dysmetabolism control. Similarly, FJ2321 acts centrally to induce sympathetic nerve activity and energy expenditure and weight loss. Tissue specific action at this FG15 and 19 are another two molecules which have potentially centrally acting mechanism control your this metabolism. So conclude my talk by the words, the brain can sense blood glucose level and respond to its physiologic as well as in stressful situation via autonomic system, hormonal system, as well as some unknown non-hormonal, non-neuronal mechanism like glucose effectiveness. T2DM is associated with abnormal glucose sensing by the brain and downward mechanism possibly involve autonomic nervous system and stress hormone. And some existing drugs like bromocriptine and anti-obesity drugs have neuronal brain action, and several new drugs are in pipeline. Thanks for your patient hearing. Lastly, one more request. API will be organized in Jaipur in the month of March. Sorry, I'm not able to show the slide. So on the behalf of my colleague, Dr. Puneet Saxena, I invite all of you to come and attend APCon Jaipur, March 22, sorry. Yeah. Thank you very much.